I'm KUHLEIN MIGUE, and I'm originally from the Philippines, and I moved here when I was 13 years old. And that's kind of when I started really making art. I didn't have access to a lot of art supplies when I was in the Philippines because we weren't in the city or anything. I just had those tiny oil pastels, and I would make SpongeBob drawings and drawings of cartoons and stuff. But when I got here, obviously I was obsessed with Michael's. That was the first art store that I actually really liked. And yeah, I started off making portraits for other people, portraits of celebrities. Honestly, I didn't even think about being an actual artist until end of grade 12 when I was applying for, towards the end of grade 12 when I was applying for university programs. I wanted to be in astrophysics first, but then I changed my mind right away because I realized that I don't even know what that is. It just sounds cool in my head. Then I just changed it to visual arts program. Yeah, I started out using colored pencils for my portraits, and then I saw this video of someone using oil paint, and it's probably a bad idea to start with oil paints because I definitely didn't do everything right. I was painting in my room with my windows closed, no proper ventilation, so that's scary. But and then I moved to acrylic paint because it was a bit easier to work with. I can just take it anywhere. And so acrylic and oils are the two mediums that I use a lot now, but I've also started experimenting with mixed media. I use chalk pastels to create mark making in my work. Yeah, and I also work with, I tried sculpture, but I found it hard. But right now I'm kind of starting to work on it again, and I'm just starting out with weaving right now, weaving my old paintings and just to kind of repurpose them a bit and making work from that. I'm in a creative block right now. I feel I'm always in a creative block, and it's always towards the end of the semester, when I have to submit something important. But I usually just listen to a lot of music, and that's also a big source of inspiration for me. And I look at a lot of photos. It's usually old photos from when I was younger, photos of home, because that's where I get the concepts behind my work. And yeah, that helps me out a lot. And also just talking to friends, seeing other people's works, and going to galleries and seeing paintings, and yeah, that always inspires me. Most of my works are research-based, and they're grounded on the Filipino diasporic experience in Canada, as well as the Philippines' colonial history and its intergenerational effects. I approach these topics by recontextualizing paintings from art history or objects that hold significance in Filipino culture. Through these processes, I complicate the idea of home, memory, and belonging, while also addressing the broader implications of colonialism, imperialism in shaping global histories and contemporary experiences. My works offer a space for immigrant communities in Canada, especially Filipino Canadians, to engage in dialogue about the complexities of belonging and the importance of reclaiming identity through learning and unlearning preconceived notions about race and identity. Right now I'm working on paintings that explore memory and remembering, but also themes of loss or longing. So I first came up with the idea when I was going through old photos of my childhood home and seeing new photos of it, and kind of seeing how it's changed over the years, because no one's really taking care of it. I've also been feeling very nostalgic about like my childhood, and that's kind of a big part of why I started painting this series. There's gonna be another canvas next to this. It's gonna be a diptych, I think. The other one's gonna be the interior of the house. And it's also interesting because when I went back to the Philippines, the house looked a lot smaller than I remembered. So I start my paintings usually with no sketches or anything. I kind of just lay paint on the canvas and see what happens. But for some of them, I do keep a sketchbook for documenting ideas. I also do figurative sketches just as a practice, and I look at a lot of art history for that, like Francis Bacon's figures. So in my sketchbook, I also plan out compositions like this. Most of the time they don't work, but I still do them because it's good practice. These are my my sketches for a triptych that I did. Okay. Just checking if I got charcoal on my face.
Oh.
So for this series, I'm researching invasive plants and species to use them as symbolic representations of the legacies of colonialism and imperialism in the Philippines. And these plants have become basically pests, and it displaces native plants, which then force wildlife to migrate and or starve. And I thought that would be interesting to portray in these paintings. The titles for these paintings are also based on the poem The White Man's Burden, which was about the Philippine-American War that exhorts the U.S. to assume colonial control of the Filipino people and their country. So this poem actually encouraged the American annexation and colonization of the Philippine Islands and its indigenous cultures. It has a very paternalistic and imperialistic message. These are some of the plants that I was researching. So the paper mulberry was introduced in 1935, and it's one of the invasive species that spread throughout the Philippines. So this series also uses a lot of references from our history, and using the iconic figure of the Dalagang Bukid as the main figures for the work.